Good afternoon, dear audience. We're coming to the main course, how to build AKIS strategic plans and which interventions are you going to choose to put in it. And I can advise you, first of all, to look to section 1.5 of the SCAR AKIS report, where you can find 10 pages of ideas on interventions. But they also have general remarks, and I don't want to keep those from you because they are also important. First of all, if you want to have a good AKIS strategic plan with lots of interventions that are useful, you need a financial envelope. Our members from the working group propose maybe to target or to ring fence a dedicated part of CAP funding to that. And what they thought was needed was about 10%. Because simply we need public knowledge. Knowledge is being privatized and we have to build it up again. We also need coherence in all these measures and the flexibility to make it happen. Such a plan, such a strategy should be developed in a transformative process together with different stakeholders. So include all those that you can in order to help you in this thinking. This doesn't happen overnight. There's a lot of work to be done before you have a good strategy and before you have chosen your right interventions. Now, for the approval of a functioning plan, you will probably need different ministries. You need researchers involved who might be under the Ministry of Research or the Ministry of Education or a Ministry of Innovation. So you can coordinate them in an AKIS coordination body and maybe even sign a collaboration agreement between the institutions, because then the staff from those institutions have the leeway to really act with the practitioners and work beyond the usual things that you are supposed to do. Somebody called it a national partnership program of all AKIS related organizations and ministries. And of course, you will need a coordination unit that is responsible for the day-to-day actions and also for stakeholders' relation to support implementation of your strategy. And if you have a strategy and you put money in it, you will also need a framework for reporting, evaluation, and control practices. And our group also gave a few ideas there. So take a look here, you have the link, and you can see in the dedicated sections what you can find, which is most useful for you. It's a book of 360 pages, but I would advise you to look at these particular sections. Now, how does this translate into the CAP strategic plans and indicators? This is how the CAP plan template will look like. We will have a section 8 on modernization and simplification. And these are the various questions that will be asked there, starting from the SWOT, going to the organization of your AKIS, about the farm advice that you will provide, and how advisors, researchers, and CAP networks will work together, and how they will provide advice and innovation support. There will be governance for that needed. And instead of what we had before, a FAS coordination body, we now have an AKIS coordination body. And this will be also responsible then to include farm advice. And you will need to give the contact details in your CAP plan template. A few milestones on this evolution and how you see the big turnover in farm advice are here on the next 2 slides, which I skip because they are easy to read and you can do that later on. Then under section 4.4 of the CAP template, there is technical assistance, where you have to indicate the activities and who are the beneficiaries. This is also a source that can help for certain AKIS interventions. And of course, the activities of the CAP network, where you are asked to include explicitly activities to support knowledge flows within the AKIS, plus the structure, the governance, and the operation of the national CAP network to support this innovation and knowledge flows. So this is the way how you will report in your CAP plan to us, to the Commission. A summary to take home. 10 main points not to forget. First of all, improve your AKIS system. Make sure advisors, researchers and CAP networks, those are our pillars, they need regular and structurally to cooperate. Then our advisors, we need to really step up their competencies through this integration and interaction with the AKIS system. They need much broader dimensions to be covered and they need up-to-date knowledge. Request advisors also to have this innovation support service to work more interactive, train them for that. Use your AKIS and your operational groups as testing ground for various CAP interventions. Remember the example that Shane gave us. Open up your farm advisory service that you have now to include the trusted advisors who can really impact farmers' decisions. So don't be afraid to make a new start with advisory. Promote investment in the innovation strand of the CAP networks. You heard already in the dedicated session how much work there's still to be done, and foresee again sufficient funding for this. Enhance all kinds of cross borders. The time is ripe. We have operational groups everywhere. We have horizon projects, plenty of them. So use this cross-border effect to have more EU added value and profit from the simplification that we offer. Keep the system open and welcome new advisors and new teams and use your simplification costs as much as possible. And then last but not least, give also power to the receivers of the services. Make it transparent, to the example of booking.com. Use vouchers instead of certification and make these websites transparent to all by putting there everybody and letting the market work. I want to close with this. You can read all this at your ease later on and wish you a lot of success in building your CAP plan and listening to 4 nice examples that we already have collected for you here today.
Good afternoon. Thank you for this interesting meeting. I'm going to give you an insight of how the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Food in Spain is preparing the AKIS strategy. The first thing we did early last year was to bring together all the technical staff of the Spanish regions because we are a regionalized country, so we have regionalized AKIS. So what we did was to raise awareness of what the regulation was telling member states to do. We exchanged information on how every region was working on their AKIS, or how every system was working, and we have some outcomes and topics highlighted, but the most important thing was that we start working together with regions and we raise awareness that there was a lot of work ahead to do. With all the information collecting from all regions, we and the lessons learned from innovation services and meetings and launching acts between actors and all those things, we made set up a national focus group on advisory in AKIS. 3 main meetings plus specific on advisor certification experts from all areas involved, and it was very focused on how to set up our CAP strategic plan to make advisory and AKIS work to meet these EIP objectives. We had special commission advice because Inge was with us in one of the meetings, so we had lots of useful information delivered by her, and here you can see the main outcomes and recommendations. So at the same time we were applying the methodology set up by the ministry to make the analysis of the current situation, SWOT analysis and assessment of needs. This implied consultation and meetings with units within our ministry, other ministries, regional authorities, external stakeholders such as ONGs or farmers organizations, And we divided the analysis of the current situation of the cross-cutting objective in 4 elements: training and advisory, innovation, digitization, and AKIS structures. Surprisingly, one of the main debates was on this analysis of the current situation, but it was quite an agreement on the assessment of needs. So we are working now on drafting the interventions for the strategic plans, and we are discussing with the Spanish regions at a very formal level. So some of the interventions will be focused on the advisors' integration within the AKIS, establishing one minimum of requirements for the advisor certification of registration, which will be on qualification, their continuous training, their participation to innovation or innovation activities, and other skills. Training and exchange of knowledge is a very important intervention, and there will be tailored training and virtual discussion forums, that's for sure, and we have to develop further interventions on training, both for farmers and for advisors. And also we have the networks within stakeholders, same type of stakeholders, and also thematic multi-actors meetings. It is very important for us to empower innovation ecosystems. This is because we have a very important ecosystem that is not mature enough. We start with the operational groups and innovation projects measured in the current programming period, but now we have to empower this ecosystem and foster the knowledge exchange and to learn from the innovations made. And also it is very important, the AKIS governance. The AKIS governance is going to include the Ministry of Science and Innovation, because we need a higher involvement of research. This will be part of a working group or group coordination group, which will have a coordination unit, which will be the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Food. And there's also the challenge to use the existing structures and bodies and reinforce them with new bodies for specific aspects. Another important challenge is to make specific actions that can help the farmers to meet the farm-to-fork targets that we have, such as connectivity, but also, in the most important, use of inputs. So the actions required. We have been working on the public procurement to set up an advisors platform. The objective will be to support advisors transition to these wider services under a new role. The content of the advisors platform will be a database for advisors, and the challenge is how we will include all of them. It has to be worthy for them to be registered, and this can be because we will have a very powerful, or we want to have a very powerful toolbox which will help farmers to search and find the perfect advisor for their region and their farm and their problems or questions. We also will have categories of advisors. Training of advisors will be a very important measure here, as I said before. There will be national interventions, and also regions could also make their own interventions. It will serve as a training, as a foreign exchange for experiences or queries. And search engine, I told you before. And also it will help to monitor their activity, so that the administration can identify the new advisors and farmers' needs, and set back office measures. And also there will be an updated link to innovation activities, so that advisors can enroll. So very important that advisors' requirements may vary from one region to another, but we will have to set a lot of national and cross-cutting requirements, so that advisors can work not only in the regions, but all over the country. And it is digital skills training for advisors and farmers. definitely. Out of discussion, this is a measure we're going to set up, and we are now doing a pilot project in this current programming period, and we are doing advisory measure and knowledge exchange measure on digital skills. So we are trying how it will work, and then we will make it better for the coming period. And also, it is very important for us to adapt AKIS governance and coordination at national and regional level. So to bridge the gap between research and practice, and I told you before, involving this Ministry of Science, this ministry in their own plans and strategies also is involving the Ministry of Agriculture regarding the AKIS system, and also to boost networks between AKIS actors through interactive activities. So that was all. I hope we gave you a few ideas, inspirational ideas, one or two at least. And Andres Montero was the director of the focus group on advisory within AKIS. We are in this together, and you can contact us for any question. Thank you very much.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, hello to everyone. I'm Jožic Velbar. I come from Slovenia, and I will present our example of preparing the AKIS strategic plan and choosing of the interventions. In the analysis of the Slovenian AKIS, we proceeded from the fact that the structure of the institutions that form AKIS in Slovenia is quite diverse and fragmented. Although AKIS structure is set up, it needs to be further improved and strengthened. We talk about three pillars: knowledge exchange, research and innovation, and digitalization. The Slovenian AKIS scheme covers all stakeholders and defines the processes of their cooperation and knowledge exchange. We use the circles and arrows to define cooperation and knowledge exchange, and the dashed lines mean that we need to strengthen either cooperation or knowledge exchange. So cooperation green and knowledge exchange red. The central stakeholder in the AKIS system are the farmers and their professional and other organizations. The upper part of the scheme defines the public sector, which is the holder of research in agriculture, formal education, and public services, including the Public Farm Advisory Service. We put down here our strengths and weakness of our AKIS system. Among strengths, we put down education and advising and public services are free of charge, good regional cover of farm advisory service, strong tradition of farm advisory service, targeted research programs in the field of agriculture, and active involvement of researchers in the international cooperation. Among weakness, we put down lack of coordination action among the ministries, insufficient financing for the research projects, weak identification of farmers' needs, inefficient communication between the institutions, weak transfer of knowledge and innovation into practice, lack of highly specialized farm advisory service in specific areas, lack of mentorship, and obsolete infrastructure and equipment for research and development. Based on the key findings of the analysis of the Slovenian AKIS system, we defined the basic needs for all three pillars. We also link the needs to possible interventions, either within the framework of national funds, possible intervention in the articles of the draft regulation for the CAP strategic plan after 2020, as well as in connection with the funds for recovery or so-called next generation. So for the first pillar, knowledge of exchange, we identified set up of AKIS platform. Our plan is in the framework of CAP network. Then increasing the attractiveness of agriculture educational programs, strengthening cooperation among AKIS stakeholders, for instance, with operational groups, leader, enhancing and use of AKIS platform and AKIS coordination body. Then improving farmers' knowledge and knowledge flow among them for instance, with operational groups again, strengthening farm advisory service and other public services, and also investments in farm advisory service and other public services and educational institutions. For the second pillar, innovation, we identified again set up of AKIS platform, then strengthening applied research in agriculture and innovation, strengthening innovation solutions, innovation brokering and financing of innovation in agriculture. For instance, set up of innovation broker function within CAP network or coordination body, then strengthening cooperation between research institutions and agricultural practice, improve the transfer knowledge, and then development of the centers of excellence of science. The third pillar, digitalization, we identified setup of AKIS, support digitalization of processes, interlink all public data, and also strengthening use of digital technologies in agriculture production. That's all from our side. Thank you for your attention and all the best with creating good AKIS strategic plans in your countries. Bye-bye.
Hello, welcome to a quick tour of Estonian AKIS 2020 plus. And we are at the moment currently working with the intervention drafts, co-designed with our stakeholders, and we're also looking forward to work with them also in the future during the next steps. So in terms of general aims, crafting of Estonian AKIS 2020 plus is an evolution rather than revolution. Because the current measures in this period have been well received, so we don't really want to throw the good stuff away. We just wanted to make it better. And by better, we mean more flexible, functional, and easier. For instance, we may introduce vouchers to create more tailor-made approach. And probably there will be less number of interventions, but these will be broader and more flexible. So we also are looking forward to cut down on bureaucracy wherever possible. So in advisory services, well, first of all, advisory services will be the background of the new AKIS era. Right now is the time to check whether the advisors in fact do have the knowledge, the means, and whether they are aware of the role in the new period. And so you can say that in Estonia, we approach advisory services from two angles. One is this traditional farmer is the client, which is the supported advice. And secondly, we have advisor as the client kind of view, which means that the coordination and supporting unit for advisors is also in the picture. And one problem that we are facing in Estonia is that we simply don't have enough of advisors. So in the new period, we are trying to grow a new generation of advisors, and there will be a special scheme which could include training, but also headhunting to find the right persons for the job. And we hope that retired advisors will also kick in and to teach some of the tricks of the trade to the newbies as mentors. And of course, equally important is also to keep the existing advisors in the system. And the only way to do it is to keep them happy and motivated. Again, here is crucial the supporting and coordinating unit for the advisors as a back office. So in overall, the scene of advisory services will be more diverse in terms of topics, formats, and also the role of advisors. In innovation cooperation, we will merge our innovation cooperation support measures into one, which will be broader and have more multiple choices. there will be support for large projects, for small projects, for EIP operational groups, local cross-border cooperation, vouchers, whatnot. But then again, we have some practical question how to organize the calls, for instance. Also, we are thinking about introducing a universal AKIS voucher, which would be great. So the voucher holder could decide whether he would like to have training or advice or support in working out a new product. But again, practical questions, how to implement it. And also we want to bridge between productive investments and AKIS so that when we give support for pilot plans, then these pilot plans could be part of the demo activities in knowledge transfer or innovation cooperation. And the knowledge transfer, we will continue with our knowledge transfer program, which is currently under Measure 1. Also, we will want to make more use of the digital solution to set up an online knowledge reservoir, which would be like one door through which you can enter all the information scattered around different web pages right now. And also the scene of training activities will be more diverse, from work shadowing to bus seminars. And last but not least, we want to pay special attention to the new entrants in agriculture so that they would have the knowledge from the early on. So thank you for your attention, and good luck everybody with designing the future.
Good morning, everybody. This is Jan van Es, Minister of Agriculture, Nature and Food Quality from the Netherlands, and I'm very happy to share with you some ideas we have on the new Common Agriculture Policy and especially the role of AKIS in this. Let's start with the farmer as a center point of our activities. But around this farmer, there are a number of people that help these farmers to on knowledge and innovation. These are advisors, there are researchers, these are education or organizations or media or businesses. And the farmer is getting information and knowledge and ideas for innovation from all of these groups. And how to organize the network, I think, is the key element in organizing, developing, or even designing a new AKIS system. What we are doing in the preparation of the new Common Agriculture Policy is that we started with a SWOT on this AKIS, and we said, what is strong or weak in the Dutch AKIS system? And strong is that we have a lot of active and innovative farmers. And the threat is that we left the advisory service to the market, which helps us if that market is going the same direction as your ideas as the governments are. But for instance, on climate or sustainability, it is sometimes not the same direction. And then leaving it to the market and farmers have to pay for advice is not helping. And the other hand is that they have elected a lot of needs from this SWOT. We like to have a stronger connection within the AKIS. We like to have a new system, develop a new system for impartial advice, and we'd like to have more emphasis on network and digital tools. Some ideas about intervention strategies we collected from the needs is we like to have a stronger support for the European innovation partnerships, operational groups, like more budget and more policy commitment. We like to make the EIP easier accessible, so higher speed of selection, improve quality, information to help applicants. We like to we need to have a register for impartial advice, and we're going to set up a complete new register to do this. We're going to give vouchers for advisors to give free, more or less free advice for all farmers on nitrogen, soil, climate, circular agriculture. And we're going to promote start of farmers discussions groups. We call that in the Dutch praktijknetwerken. Some more examples on, for instance, Green Knowledge Net. They have access to a website with all the knowledge we can collect from the research industries and the knowledge institutes. I'd like to have organizing a living lab on precision agriculture. We're going to do a lot of work to expand the existing network to a CAP network and an innovation network, support coordinations between the different regions, have extra meeting to stimulate innovation actors to connect with eco schemes which are new in the CAP, to use better producer organizations to support innovation. But we call master classes to help operation group project leaders and help them to connect to administration burdens to overcome this. And what we call knowledge on tailor-made knowledge, an open call to make access to knowledge for advisors easier. What we do have discussions, this is what we're all doing in redesigning the CAP and AKIS network. What we have discussion is, can we already start doing that in the next 2 years in the transition period? Because there's a lot of money there, a lot of ideas, so let's not wait 2 years, but let's start now and how much is possible already. The Green Deal and the Farm to Fork is out, and we like to see how we can better connect to that. How to organize exchange and knowledge exchange without high transaction costs. That's a problem. Most of these projects are quite small. Small projects tend to have high transaction costs. So how can we organize knowledge projects with this without high cost? And we think something like vouchers could help. How to connect to hard-to-reach farmers. I think next week we're going to discuss that also in the AKIS network. And the last point that is quite an important point, how can we measure progress in AKIS? And we like to do that because we have to show why we spend money on it, but also to compete with the other activities, with other interventions. So, okay, but if AKIS is really going to work, then we have to show how the progress in AKIS can be done. So thank you for your attention, and we're curious to hear about your experience in the CAP network. Thank you.
Cooperation between parties involved. Do you already have a view on who should form part of the AKIS coordination body? So again, similar points being made here. It has emerged from a survey that the AKIS coordination body must be a public authority, and that came through quite a lot, that the feeling was that it should be a neutral authority that should be in a coordination role without any particular agendas. And of course, all types of farming should be represented at the coordination level. Tips that worked well to strengthen the organization of knowledge flows between AKIS actors, to finance those posts of facilitators and mediators, regular collaboration between different types of institutions, activities where both advisors and farmers participate. For example, the field exhibits. So we saw the bus the other day, the Innovation Academy. They were traveling to the UK, I think, for ideas on horticultural production. So, and of course, digital tools then as well. We have a final slide here, but the main point here is that to ensure sufficient funding for the dissemination of project results. It can't be understated that we often put so much money into the research side of the project, and we sometimes don't put a proportionate amount of money or funding into the dissemination. So there's little point in putting a lot of effort into something if we don't tell people about it. So that point has to be made. And of course, then that AKIS plans need specific incentives for researchers to engage. So that's a whistle-stop tour of the main points coming from document D on the Google Docs. Again, thanks to everybody for contributing. Those documents are still available to read if you want to pick up some tips, or indeed get follow up with those people. Everybody who contributed put their name beside their comments, so it's a good way of maybe reaching out to another member state. So Sarah, I hope I have remained within my time limit.
Thank you, Mark. I know it's incredibly difficult. There was so much information in those Google Docs. It's incredibly difficult to sort of distill it down into something with my mean time frames that I give everyone. So thank you, Mark. That was great. From now until the coffee break, it's kind of over to you as participants. So we're going to move you into a breakout session. And within that breakout session, we're going to ask you to briefly introduce yourselves, but to focus on identifying some of the strengths and the weaknesses that you have within your AKIS or that you're aware of in your country or region. And then we're going to spend some time working together to look to see if we can design and develop some interventions that might help support those weaknesses, or even consolidate and develop the strengths that you identify as well. At the end of the breakout session, we are going straight into the coffee break. So when you come back to plenary, you'll see that there's not really anybody here. But again, please do not leave the Zoom meeting, because again, we won't have enough time to get everyone back in. So please do stay logged in after your breakout has finished. And then after the coffee break, we are going to have feedback from as many of the breakout sessions as we possibly can. So again, it'll be a little bit random moving whoever moves into which breakout room. So do give us a little bit of time to get you all there. And then we may find that we need to redistribute our facilitators a little bit. So also bear with us if it takes a couple of minutes to do that. So away you go. Have a lovely 45 minutes and I will see you after coffee. Thank you very much. Hello again, everyone. Good afternoon and welcome back from the coffee break. I hope very much that those breakout sessions were useful for everyone. There's never long enough. We could have spent probably 2.5 days just talking with each other without all of the presentations and everything else. So we're going to try and fit in as much feedback as we can. And in order to fit in as much feedback, I'm going to limit all of the rapporteurs to 3 minutes each to give us a feedback on their breakout sessions. I'm hoping that we can fit in about 4 or 5, which will be brilliant. And I'd like you to introduce you to my assistant, Squeaky Squirrel. So when you start presenting, I will time you for 3 minutes. And when you hear this noise, that means your 3 minutes is up and you need to wind down. Normally, if we were together, I would just wave, but I can't do that. So the squirrel is taking charge. Brilliant. So for the first feedback session, I would love to hear from Bayer's group. If Bayer, you could share your screen with the Google document. And I understand it was Shane Conway who volunteered to provide a little bit of feedback for us on this. So Shane is the first person to risk the squeaky squirrel. Great. Okay. Can you see your Google Doc well there, Shane?
Yes, I have it open here, yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, we kind of discussed a few things and we tried to come to a common agreement what we were discussing, but it was about farm advisory services and fostering interconnections between both private and public advisors. I suppose predominantly about knowledge exchange and how to get the message out there. We discussed different systems in Cyprus and Italy and the fact that there's a registration if you want to become an advisor and compulsory training to obtain such things, and that develops a trust with farmers that there's a legitimate advisory service being offered to them. I suppose one thing we kind of came to at the end that I want to mention is the farming media hasn't really been discussed that much. I suppose from an Irish perspective, they're a really key player in agri-knowledge dissemination. Topics of conversation within these papers are talked about amongst advisors and farmers. I read about such a thing in the paper, can you tell me more about it? So, they're quite a dominant force. And just in relation to the synopsis of research, high academic peer-reviewed journals, I suppose advisors can't be expected to read through all this. There needs to be summary reports written about this. So there's important tools for research to advisor to knowledge exchange and transfer. And I suppose these summary reports in turn going back to the farming media will be picked up and they're easier to disseminate to farmers on the ground. they almost act as an advisor in themselves at times, but I suppose you just have to be careful of the commercial companies that might, you know, be it branding or advertisement, that might try to push something. But the farming media is very important. It's just kind of a ritual to go and buy the Farmer's Journal on a Thursday in Ireland, for example, and everything that's included within is an important topic of conversation, as I said, throughout the week. Then gives you some ammunition to something to talk about with other farmers. So I'd have to kind of mention that. Maybe it's something that mightn't have been brought up that much, but again, the advisors are obviously key, and they have the, I suppose they have no ulterior motive in a sense. So that's kind of a synopsis. Obviously, I didn't cover everything we talked about, but that's I tried to get as much out there as I could. So.
Brilliant, thank you, Shane, and well within the time, so no fear of being squeaked off by the squirrel. Thank you. And the next breakout session, I thought we could go to those that had Mark as a facilitator. So Mark, if you could share your Google Doc screen with us, that would be brilliant. And then I believe Nancy is your rapporteur. Nancy Samaggio, are you there with us?
Yeah, yes, I'm here.
Wonderful.
So our group had Ireland, Greece, Lithuania, Romania, and Italy, and we came to realize that we basically have more or less the same issues. So as the weaknesses, we have identified the lack of bottom-up approach, not well-connected advisory with the needs on the territory, on the field. Not enough funding, and some services are still expensive, and also the lack of coordination at local level. Also, there is the thing that in some countries, such as Romania, there is no longer a national advisory service unit. So and no national registry, and also there's the need for training the trainers. So that's with the weaknesses. Moving on to the strengths. Now on the strengths there is a different view, because in some parts such as Ireland there is a well integrated advisory and a strong connection, as the Shane I think mentioned, a strong connection between all the actors, the public, and also the media. So yay for Ireland. Lots of advisory providers, but I think a bit fragmented. In Greece, a good infrastructure, including also internet, good training, a central and national certification in Lithuania. And also, given that in Romania's case, we have selection of trainers, which helps us develop a database, or in some case, built on the existing database set up by the paying agency. And also we get to update the curricula. And also in Italy, we have national coordination, which is a little bit, it's helpful to know, to coordinate. Okay, moving to the projects. We had upskilling of advisors, and meaning, so this, as we pointed out in the previous, in identifying the strengths and the weaknesses, it's a common and it's a stringent issue, and thus it needs, I mean, advisors should be able to update their skills, to acquire new skills, and be in touch with current and emerging concepts. It should be, and this will lead to helping them deliver more focused, more well-documented, well-prepared advisory services. So as stakeholders, we have, first of all, farm advisors and agri-food industries, marketing experts, also not to forget local heroes, local farmers who had been involved in networking or in developing projects, ministries. That's about it. And we have another one platform, so digital services, but I won't say anymore.
Thank you, Nancy. You spotted the squirrel. Thank you very much. That was really lovely, really interesting breakout session. I think you guys had there. I'm now going to ask Wilhelmine if she could share her screen with us. And I understand from your breakout group, it was Joseph that offered to provide some feedback for us.
Yeah.
It always takes us a little bit of time to go from one screen share to another, so please bear with us. Brilliant, thank you, Wilhelmine. And Joseph, can you see that now? Are you ready to go?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
So we all agreed more or less in our group that one very important challenge of the AKIS is the knowledge flow, basically, and that's why we try to find a solution, or that's why we basically ended up looking for solutions for the knowledge exchange and between different groups. And so we ended up, or we had the idea to come up with more or less two intervention types. One would be to create an advisory network, which would basically mean to make sure that there would be networks of advisors to promote those networks and of trainers, so that they improve their work, and very importantly, that they don't understand each other as competitions anymore, because often we have the impression that they are not all sitting in this, or they don't have the impression they are sitting all in the same boat, but we want, of course, to be sure that all agree basically to work on the same things. And this, of course, means also to work on the vocational training, because that's where advisors, they need to be trained somewhere. And this is a very important part. So the advisors, as somebody said this morning already, are basically the glue that keeps the AKIS together, which is why they are pretty much at the center of this intervention. But as we know, of course, that innovation system requires various other stakeholders. It also, of course, the researchers, for instance, we thought they need some incentives actually to cooperate, or to become part and to actively participate in AKIS and in or participate in operational groups. And one thing that sounded interesting this morning, we heard about the idea from Professor Mugurel from Romania that we should reward researchers beyond academic focus. I think that is, or we all believe that this is a very important aspect, to find ways to make them participate. Another thing would be, of course, to create some online platforms, because now everything is online, basically. That is one important aspect, but also to make sure that the communication works, so that many people from the country can interact, but not just people, not necessarily just farmers and advisors, but also we identified consumers as a very important part that is often neglected to some extent, and online would be a way to reach them, perhaps. And this would make, this way we could, the goal would be to make better connections, better interactions, and while the type of resources that this would require is, again, PR and good online tools. And PR, I think, is interesting, because we heard this morning from Tom Kelly that the branding is a very important point that often gets forgotten. And we also believe that this would be one important part. This is basically what our group came up with. So the knowledge flow must be improved.
Brilliant, thank you, Joseph. It was another great summary. Thank you very much. Shall we go to Sergio's breakout group next? So again, just give us a chance to switch over our screen sharing. So here's Sergio's document, and Sergio has Meta, who is going to report back for us, hopefully. Can you see? Are you there?
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
In our breakup session, we had participants from Germany, Italy, France, Slovenia, and Hungary. And as the strengths, I could summarize that we identified that the existing systems, advisory systems, are quite good, quite well developed. And just some countries, some members from some countries mentioned that perhaps there is a need for some better, that are fragmented, that this should be better coordinated. Then in 2 countries, we also mentioned that integration of the research into the AKIS can be considered as the weakness, and also that there are not enough resources allocated to AKIS network in general. When we discussed about the interventions, we somehow focused strongly on one point, despite several weaknesses that were identified, but the discussion was mostly on the important part, which is the capacity building, or we could say also the education. Here the debate was the most strong, and it means from farmers to training the trainers and also the students. And it was especially emphasized that we should think about the future experts, so that how to raise the interest in the students to choose the agriculture as their profession, because young people are our future, and if we don't attract the best students, the best young people for this profession, of course, we will lack good experts in the ecosystem in the future.
Yeah, brilliant, Mette. That was great again. Thank you very much. This feedback is great. You're all being very concise and putting over the points really well. Looking at the time, I think we probably have time for one more. So I was going to ask Lisa's group if Lisa could share her screen with us. That would be lovely. And I think it's Peter who was going to feedback for us from Lisa's breakout. So again, we'll just give a moment for that screen sharing to swap over. Brilliant, here we go. Great. And Peter, could you talk to us with your breakout session?
Good afternoon. So I'm surprised that about each group is talking about the advisors. So we also did that, but it was more related to the number of advisors, which seems different from country to country, and that of course, if there could come support to have a higher level of advisors, that the same information is reaching all member states and is reaching all end users in Europe. So, but we have seen a lot of ideas to support that advisor power across Europe. And I want to take the time to talk a bit about open access, because this is another issue, I believe, and this is the system that if you have European projects, if you have outcome, that in fact you're not allowed to pick it from the internet, or you're not allowed to copy paste it in your program, in your advising system, because there is some intellectual property rights connected to the data of the creator. And I want to send out the message that we have to look at it, because we are talking about open access, but in fact it's not open access. There are always some property rights, and it's not because you put it for free on the website that you are also free to take it over and to translate it into your own language, or to translate it in your education program, or to translate it in your dissemination system. So therefore, what kind of support we urgently need is IP expertise, open access experts, legal experts, people who have the knowledge how to do in the future real open access, that the information that is funded by the European Commission is publicly available and is also publicly of use and can be used in a different way and taken over by the different member states, the different advisors, the different stakeholders for becoming more sustainable.
Thank you, Peter. And thank you to all of the rapporteurs that very kindly volunteered to feedback for us then. It's always a bit of a nerve-wracking thing trying to get it right for everyone else that was in your breakout session. And thank you all very much for sticking very closely to the time. So Squeaky Squirrel didn't have to make an appearance, which is always good news. Just to recap there, I think there was some interesting things coming out. You know, Shane was talking about farming media as a key stakeholder, and I think in most countries they are definitely a great influencer of the farming community. Also, we went on to hear about greater coordination being the key, both at a national and local level, that consumers need to be a focus for these connections, as well as the other stakeholders. And a big focus on ensuring AKIS is kind of present in education, so it's there to inspire and engage with young people as well. And then finishing then with Peter's comments on open access and actually making sure that the information that is there is actually freely available to everyone. So it sounds like the breakout sessions were really interesting, and thank you all of you for contributing to that. So as we're sort of drawing towards the end of our time together, I did want to take just about 10 minutes for a few reflections from everyone about their time over the last 2.5 days. So I'm gonna pop us into gallery view, and I'm gonna ask those of you who can to switch your video on as well so we can see you. And I know some people have struggled with the raise hand function, so we're going to go back to the traditional approach, which is actually physically raising a hand, because I would love to hear just your reflections on the kind of things that might be your take-home things, the things that will stay with you and you'll be thinking about over the weekend that you would like to share with us. Just to kick us off, I had a few of my own. Firstly, obviously, I think we were probably the first event that had regularly visiting chickens, so that's fantastic. I'm very excited about that. I think we also had the youngest ever participant, which again is another first, and also possibly the catchiest music and possibly a new AKIS theme tune. So if you would like to start downloading that, we'll see if we can push it up the download charts. But the most important thing has been about building an AKIS community. So any of you that would just like to share your highs of the last couple of days, or let's say the things you really want to take home, pop a hand up and wave, and I will flick through and see if I can spot you. And for those of you that haven't got video, do feel free just to pop any comments or any things that come to mind in the chat, because it would be lovely to have some views about those take-homes with you. If there's anything that's particularly inspired you, or somebody that you particularly want to catch up with next week when you're back in the office, please do share any of those with us. Feeling like everybody's being quite shy. We will obviously also ask you to have a bit of a more formal evaluation with us shortly afterwards, but anything that you wanted to share, please do.
Just to point out one thing that I just wrote in the chat. I just got the feeling, especially listening after all the parallel sessions, that we in all countries we have the very best ingredients, but now it's like we just have to connect them. We have to cook this soup, make them together, and make them feel really tasty. And this is a very general thing, but this is the overall feeling that I have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you, Victor. And similar to Alessandra in my blind date, who was saying she felt she had all of the bits of the jigsaw now and just needed to find the kind of the picture to put them all together. So I think that's hopefully what the last couple of days have done for all of us. Thank you, Victor. Is there anyone else that would like to contribute? Hello, please do. You're muted at the moment. Could you unmute yourselves? Perfect.
Yes. We would like to say. We would like to say that we are under impression of the organization of the whole seminar. it was really well done. And we see that everybody has similar problems and ideas, so it was very interesting for us.
Mm-hmm. Good, I'm glad it was useful, and thank you very much, because among the firsts, this is our first digital seminar of managing one this size, so hopefully it's all gone smoothly for everybody. Anybody else that would like to contribute anything? Okay, then what I am going to do now is pass the floor over to Margarita, that has very exciting news about a free gift, which is definitely going to perk everyone's ears up. So, Margarita, please do share your exciting news.
Yes, Sarah, thank you very much. Yes, indeed, I have very exciting news. Maybe most of you, oh, how can I show this?
You have to put it right in front of you.
Ah, yes. Can you see?
Oh, that hasn't worked either, no.
No. Oh. Do you know this book? No.
Maybe read just the title.
Yeah. Well, most of you know it. It's called Preparing for Future, AKIS in Europe. We call it, internally, we call it the AKIS Bible. So you can already understand how relevant it is. Actually, you have the link to this, to the online version on the webpage of the seminar. So you can also have a look at it there. But indeed, the exciting news that we want to share with you is that if you want, you can have it, the real book, I mean. So what we would like is to collect from you your wish. If you want to receive it, let us know. So coming week, at the end of coming week, we'll be sending all registered participants a thank you letter with several information, and in it, the link to a document where you can indicate if you want to receive the book. And then you should also indicate the address where we should send it to, of course. So keep this in mind, and I'm sure you'll be enjoying reading this book because it's really the Bible. Oh, I almost shown it.
Oh, you can see it here.
Oh, perfect.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shell. That's really helpful.
Thank you.
Yes, you know, you see, many of us know it. It's the Bible. Mm-hmm. It's really the Bible. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Margarita. Yeah, definitely get your hands on that. It's absolutely fantastic. Oh, I can see that Inge has her hand raised. So Inge, would you like to add to that?
Yes, to be intellectually correct, I must also take the occasion of the authors of that book, because this was a group with about 24 member states, all experts in knowledge and in education up until the highest level, who inspired us with this long list of AKIS ideas. They worked a year and a half on this policy brief on advisors, how the future for advice should look like. So we are in fact in depth to our SCAR AKIS working group to get all that knowledge from them that we have been able then to put into the CAP. And I would like to take the occasion to thank them, and also to refer to what Jean-Marc Choureau put in the chat, I think yesterday or so, that it's also important if you want to reach out to the research side, that there is this SCAR group, an overall SCAR group. This was made by the dedicated AKIS SCAR group, but there's an overall SCAR group, and they have mirror SCAR groups in some countries, not in all, but in some countries. And this is a way to reach out also to the research community there, to share the views on AKIS and what is needed, and that we expect rewards for researchers to work for practice. So I think they have played a really important role in it already from the third mandate, who warned us that in a foresight study that we risk that all knowledge gets private. There will be no public knowledge anymore if we don't act quickly. So they gave us really the orange flickering light, and then this is the result of their last 3 years' work. So big thanks also. Some of the participants are from the group, but only a few. So may I ask them also to bring this to the group, this big thanks.
Thank you, Inge. Yeah, and useful contacts there, like you say, to catch up with the SCARD group, just for more information generally. It's a really, really useful resource. And I've noticed that Patrick, I think he may have left now, but Patrick Barrett was also asking about when the presentations would be available. So we're going to make them available to you both as PowerPoints, so you can use them that way. But because we've been recording all of the plenary sessions, they'll also be available on YouTube. So you'll be able to listen to them as well as just read them for you. And those will be available to you by the end of next week. So you'll be able to relive the most exciting moments of the seminar with us by the end of next week. Brilliant. So we're sort of left with our normal evaluation, but before we get to our evaluation polls, I'd like us to do two things together. So I'm going to go back onto gallery view and hope that you still have your cameras on. And I'm also going to hope that you have a couple of pieces of paper next to you, if possible. So I've got a big bunch of sticky notes, so I'm absolutely fine. If you have, I'd like you to take a piece of paper, and on it, I would like you to draw a face of how you're feeling right now after 2.5 days of seminar. So I have absolutely loved working with everyone. So this is my smiley face. But it's also been quite long days and there's been lots of information. So once you have your face, whatever it looks like, please hold it up to the camera for us so we can all see how everyone's feeling. I see lots of smiles, so that's good. Oh yeah, there's Edgeta, you have a wonderful face there. That's a massive smile going on. And Zeus, all of his help desk help, and he's still smiling, so that's fantastic news. Brilliant, I can see lots of smiles, that's fantastic. Nancy even has exclamation marks with her smile, so I think that means that she is super happy. That's brilliant. That's always a good sign that our 2 days together have been good. Great. I can see lots of smiles. Fabio Cuso, that's an amazing face. Please hold that one up again. Oh, Fabio, that's 10 out of 10 for art. If I was your art teacher, I'd be very pleased with you right now. Brilliant. Thank you very much. And then I want you to take a second piece of paper. This is my second piece of paper, a new piece of paper. And on it, I want you to start by writing, I promise. And please, this is a note for you. So in your own language, don't worry about writing it in anything other than what you will read. So I'm starting with I promise. And then I want you to write the one thing that you are going to do next week because of this AKIS seminar. So it might be, I promise to contact Piotr, because he had some really interesting ideas about open access. So write yourself a promise on the piece of paper, and when you have done that, this takes a little bit longer than a smiley face, I know it does. When you've got your promise written down, and it can be anything, it can be talking to a colleague at work to tell them about a presentation that you saw, or it can be a particular intervention that you've decided would be brilliant for your AKIS, or it could be the person that you're going to email or phone next week because they really inspired you. And I would like you to hold that up to your screen now. Well, you see, you can't see mine with my dodgy background. Hold that up to the screen now, so we won't be able to read your promises, but we can see that you've got your promise written down. And I will, of course, contact each of you individually next week to make sure you have delivered these promises. So, you know, watch out. Brilliant, thank you very much. Inge has her hand up, so I'm gonna ask Inge if she'd like to say something before we do our evaluation poll.
Yes, you have been the lucky ones to join this seminar, as this was for us a test out, and we had 277 registrations. Who were not always at the same time here. Some picked out this piece, others picked out that piece, but in total it was already an enormous amount for us for such an event. But still, as Minister Kaminski said yesterday, there are thousands and thousands of people out there all working around AKIS, whether they are administrators, people of the administrations, advisors, researchers, whoever. So please share. Everything is web streamed. So try to do your best to share this in your country with everybody involved in AKIS as much as possible.
Brilliant, thank you, Inge. Thank you indeed. I'm gonna pop us back onto speaker view now. If you could do that, so you'll then be able to see the polls. And we have, I think, 4. So yeah, stretch out the fingers again. I have to remember that to get the poll working. We have, perfect, thank you. We can see lots of stretching going on. We have 4 poll questions to ask you. And yeah, if we could start those off with number 1, all about the seminar and all about your feelings towards the last 2.5 days. So here's our first evaluation question. How has the seminar contributed to your tasks in developing the strategic plan on agricultural knowledge and innovation systems in your country? So we have not at all, the information wasn't useful for me. To a certain extent, I heard some useful new information, or very much, I have received a lot of interesting information. So I'll leave you guys to vote on that for a little bit. So we've got about, 67% have voted, which is great. Thank you very much, because this is all really useful feedback for us. So that's really lovely that 65% of you have said very much, and you've received a lot of interesting information, which is an absolute credit to all of our presenters that have done an amazing job for us over the last couple of days. And 34% of you have, to a certain extent, have had some useful new information. So that's really good news. And apologies to the one person that isn't necessary. But thank you. Question 2. Has the seminar brought you any new ideas on how to effectively promote knowledge flows to catalyse innovation in agriculture? So we have no, I heard almost everything before, or this is not relevant really to my role. Or to a certain extent, there were some new ideas worth taking up. Or yes, I heard many inspiring examples which are relevant for my country or region. So we've been talking about knowledge flows quite a lot. And again, that's brilliant. That's very nearly everyone has either found them really useful or has found some ideas that are definitely worth taking up. So again, a really positive result. And we've had lots and lots of interesting stuff over the last 2.5 days. I sort of feel like we've had a week's worth of information crammed into a shorter period of time. There's been so much, but that's great. Thank you. Question 3. So I'm still on 2. I was getting carried away with myself. Question 3. Overall, how satisfied are you with the usefulness of this seminar? Has it improved your understanding of AKIS and the needed useful interventions? So voting away again. This is brilliant. So we have nearly 3/4 of you very satisfied at the moment. Still a few more votes coming in, so that's brilliant. We're up to nearly 70% of you having voted now. So that's great. So 71% of you are very satisfied and 26% satisfied with the usefulness of the seminar. So again, that's really good news. Thank you very much. And if I've counted correctly, I think we might have one more. Overall, how satisfied are you with the format and organisation of this online seminar? So it was a big challenge for us, as it's the first digital seminar with this amount of people in. So I'm sure we've learned a few things along the way as well. Brilliant. So that's 75% very satisfied, 25% satisfied. So that's pretty good. Thank you very much. I sort of realised I may have to grab Sarah and see if we could do our second word cloud. Thank you for the polls. That's great. We can. Thank you. That's brilliant, Sarah. You're a star. So if you remember, on day 1, we did a little word cloud to see how you were feeling about AKIS. So what we would like you to do is essentially answer the same question on a word cloud today. So you can either open your EIP-AGRI app, and you will find it on the main menu under word cloud day 2, or Sarah, who is now my favourite person for getting my word cloud up for me, she's also popped a link in the chat, so you can, if you haven't got your app around, then you can pop onto the link, and that will take you to the word cloud. And again, we're asking you for the one word that best describes how you feel about AKIS in your country. So let's see how this is going. Oh, fantastic. Optimistic, hopeful. Oh, I like inspired, that's always good, and full of possibilities. We have a few more. Oh, I like AKIS, that's very nice. Interactive innovation. Oh, complementary, that's a really interesting word to use and a good one as well. Brilliant. I can still see a few more coming in. Enthusiastic, good. Or under pressure. Okay, so is any more of you that want to pop a few more words in, then please do. You can see that just over 40 of you have, so promising, optimistic, inspired and hopeful, in progress and enthusiastic are the key ones we have coming out of here. Brilliant. So also Sarah very kindly has popped these up so we can compare where we were on day 1 to where we were on day 3. So still promising, so that's really good. But now we're feeling inspired and optimistic rather than feeling it was fragmented. So we have progress, I think, over the 2.5 days that we've spent together, that our word cloud has moved into a slightly more positive and definitely more optimistic place than we were at the start. So I'm hoping that that's something that we've brought to you over these last 2 days, is you're leaving us feeling more optimistic about your AKIS and ready to get in and take your inspiration and use it in your own country, in your own region. Brilliant, thank you. So I'm very excited that we've had this time together, and I'm hoping that we will have our closing speech very shortly. And for me, it's always really interesting working with such a broad range of people on events like this. And I remember when we first started 2.5 days ago, where Inge was talking about this being the beginning of an AKIS community, and that was a community that we needed to carry on building. and a community that that would be an important part of AKIS, and in the same way that the advisors become the AKIS glue in your own country, that that maybe actually this community and these connections that we're making across European countries is the glue that sticks that European AKIS together. And I know I've said it several times already, but please do use this as a catalyst to continue communicating. There's been so many great project examples, and it may be, it's not until next month or the month after, and you think, oh, I remember Shell was talking about this at the event. I need to talk to him, I need to catch up, and I need to find out more. So that's really exciting. It's been very inspirational for me to spend time with all of you over these last 2.5 days. So I look forward to learning more about the AKIS family as it continues. Now, I'm hoping, and I'm very excited to say that we have the Director General of DG AGRI, Wolfgang Burtscher, with us. And I'm hoping that he is able to join us. If you're there, Director General, could you unmute yourself? He may be having a... that sounds promising. Director General, are you with us? Well, maybe not quite yet. I can definitely hear somebody. But whether it's Mr. Burtscher or not, I don't know. Brilliant. I think he's just joining us. It's a real privilege to have the Director General here with us to give us a closing speech. And I think, if nothing else, is another indication of how important and how significant this piece of policy, this AKIS, is to the Commission at that level. And really exciting to be able to listen to his closing remarks. So, Mr. Burtscher, please have the floor.
Do you hear me?
Oh, we can. That's wonderful. Thank you very much. We're delighted to have you with us. And
are you already waiting for me?
We're waiting in anticipation for you, so we're very excited to have you here.
Am I too late?
No, you're perfectly timed.
Okay, that's good. So, shall I start the concluding remarks?
Please do. That would be lovely.
Okay. Adrien, merci encore. Merci. So it's always quite an excitement whether you get the link or not. I'm talking about innovation and knowledge, but personally I have the impression there is a kind of gap in that respect. Thanks to my skills and knowledge, and probably I should have an AKIS advisor at in my office. Now, dear colleagues, I'm really very pleased to meet you, even if it's only in a virtual manner. And let me make some closing remarks, which I really make from the bottom of my heart, because, as you might know, I've been a Deputy Director General in DG Research and Innovation. And I think since decennies, the key question that keeps us all busy is how to best translate research and innovation skills, new knowledge, to those who really should use it. And I think that's at the heart of your discussion. That was at the heart of your discussions over the last days. And I would like to give you some considerations from my side. I think, as the Commissioner already said in his opening remarks, the future of agriculture will be based on knowledge and innovation. Now, this might look like a sentence from a Sunday speech, but I think the Commissioner has said it with full conviction, because he is aware, and we are aware, and the Commission is aware, that the challenges which we are facing in all our parts of society, in economy, evidently also in agriculture, we can only address them with new knowledge and innovation. And these challenges are evidently the challenges relating to the Green Deal and to the different elements and targets that are included in the Farm to Fork and the biodiversity strategy. But these challenges are also about economic competitiveness and also about social sustainability. So I think innovation and knowledge and their translation into farm practices is decisive, not only for the pursuit of our policy objectives in terms of greening, and you know all the hope which we put into precision farming and other elements related to the new technologies, but it's also key important for the competitiveness of our farming community. I would like to remind you of what Minister Adanovsky told us yesterday. He said the Farm to Fork strategy and the biodiversity strategy set out ambitious orientations, yes, objectives and targets, yes, for the coming years, and a key tool to achieve these objectives are indeed new technologies and innovation in all scientific disciplines. Why do I consider that this is so important? Science, knowledge and innovation in addressing the new challenges. If you look at the Common Agricultural Policy, I think everybody agrees that we should aim at a Common Agricultural Policy that is sustainable in many respects. Sustainable in economic terms, it should provide sufficient income for farmers. It should be social sustainability, so social sustainable in particular in providing high quality food at affordable prices. And certainly last but not least, it should be ecologically sustainable. And if you are working in agriculture and if you are, for example, a commissioner for agriculture or a director general in DG Agriculture, it sounds easy to meet these different objectives. But the reality is that they might be quite conflicting and there are trade-offs between, for example, income on the one hand and additional commitments in terms of greening, in terms of animal welfare and so on. And I strongly believe that research and innovation can help us to make these trade-offs and the decisions which we need to take less burdensome, less conflictual in order to find solutions. So a key question is evidently that we have good knowledge, sound science, sound research. But I think that's only half of the bill because I saw it in DG Research and Innovation. We have great projects from Framework Program 1 to Framework Program 7, Horizon Europe, Horizon 2020. But the key question is how to ensure, and evidently from national research and innovation, from your research institutions that are at national level, who are working very closely often with agriculture. But then that's an indispensable condition to become more innovative. But it's only half of the bill. The other thing is that we need to ensure effective uptake and implementation into specific agricultural practices. And their cooperation between science and practice, between researchers and farmers, as much as possible on farm, with the involvement of farm advisors, is crucial, I think. Furthermore, in order to boost innovation on the ground, farmers have to get involved already in the stage of developing and research and innovation. I think we can have very sophisticated research, science and innovation, but afterwards it has not the potential to be relevant for those who should use it. I think we do not advance. So I think involving farmers, end users in already calls for research and innovation projects in order to ensure their relevance is key. An average farmer has no research and development department, as you imagine, so it's important that their demands, their requests are taken into consideration already at the point when we design our research project. And this is why under the Future CAP, the EIP-AGRI will be further enforced, combining complementary knowledge from science, practice, and other sources, gaining from the synergies with Horizon 2020 multi-actor projects. As also mentioned during our exchanges, we now need to create well-functioning innovation support services in each member state, which will be close to agriculture and will have a broad network. So imagine for one moment we have relevant research, innovation, science. Now how do we translate it? And I think that is what is about support services. And evidently, I was just yesterday in a virtual meeting with the members of Copa Cogeca. And one of the key concerns of one participant from Croatia was that there are whole member states who have no structure in terms of providing knowledge and innovation to farmers. Either they copy their neighbor or they rely on business with all the advantages and disadvantages related in terms of dependence, or they rely on these private partners to get advice and new knowledge. So this is really a crucial question. Crucial role of how we organize AKIS and how evidently we ensure that the advisors are permanently and steadily at the last level of science and innovation and good practices. Advisors are those who easily pick up grassroots ideas, hopefully, or problems from farmers, and can help to put the right actors together for finding the right solution. As I said, we have seen a variety of types of advisory organizations, from private, organized, public owned, big, small, fragmented, and the many tasks they can fulfill. This highlights the importance of advisors who can cover, and I think that's another important element, that are holistic. Today, everybody pretends that he is holistic, but I'm not sure that this is the case. And evidently, I think in a perfect world, these advisors should be able exactly to be aware of the different angles of sustainability, the ecological part, but the consequences in economic terms and in social terms. Not an easy job, but this is what one could and should expect. Another important point was that transparent advisory registers can be more suitable than too stringent certification criteria. I think it is a good question in terms of balance. We want to ensure quality of advisors through certification. At the same time, that might be too limited. And there are many new guys out there who are full of new experiences and new knowledge, maybe even more than those who are in the certified system. So not an easy choice, but your conclusion comes also from the debate you had online with the e-questionnaires in the weeks preceding the seminar. This approach enables new expert advisors to come in, and I think it seems a good solution. Indeed, as I said, we need new people with new competencies to advise our farmers. I think you have often the criticism or people asking question, are our teachers still fit to lead the pupils, the new generation in the world of innovation, when they are like me, just trying to use the iPhone and the iPad, and I do not talk about all the different means now of virtual communication. I think evidently similar questions do arise with advisors. They need to permanently update their competencies in emerging fields such as digital, short supply chains, new bio-based or medicinal crops, care farming, and all kind of other diversification which help farmers to become resilient, which guarantees decent farm incomes. Just think about the discussion that was launched yesterday by the President von der Leyen when she has presented the new strategy for climate change, which also will, and the new targets will certainly also concern agriculture, where one of the future tools could be new business models for farmers in terms of carbon sequestration. Do we have the experts that will be able to guide farmers in that respect? And last but not least, emphasis was made by many speakers on the need to train, and I think that was the point I just made, advisors regularly and sufficiently. The quality and focus of such training is key. The training obligation would be an important criterion to allow advisors to form part of the National Advisors Register, exactly as is already current practices for other professions in many countries. Guardians of public knowledge, such as the specialist advisors in the back offices, may need databases to collect practice-oriented information. I just talked about the importance of science and research and innovation, but I think we should not underestimate the potential also of practice-oriented information in improving our world. So translation, filtering, and promoting the most useful elements for the specific country are essential. We have seen that some member states are already building such databases, while at EU level we prepare a new wide knowledge reservoir, which should be interactive and interoperable with all AKIS databases in the member states. Such knowledge reservoirs will help to safeguard knowledge after projects ended, and will be a way to connect people across borders in innovation projects or actions. We do not always have to reinvent the wheel, and maybe the neighbor has already found a great solution, only we need to know about it. And I think in many talks I have had with farmers and advisors and policymakers, I think there is an important element, and I think it will come later in my concluding remarks, but since I'm just on this point, I will say it here. I think one of the most important elements also in terms of providing farm advice is to confront farmers or to show farmers success of certain practices in other farms. People tell me that this is the most convincing knowledge transfer. Just show a farmer, another farmer who does new technologies and how successful this is. And I think that's an important element which we should also take into consideration in our considerations, how to best spread knowledge and skills. But I'm sure in my speech I will come back on this point again, and I will read it out in a moment. So we have also heard about advisory networks, learning from each other, and about advisors going abroad and learning from other EU countries. Here we can bring real EU added value, avoiding overlapping projects and saving costs, and bringing this to our farmers. Member States will also need to further promote another key element of AKIS, the operational groups. We have seen an example of a very successful one, tackling farmers' needs and co-creating solutions in a networked way. We have also seen how to make EIP operational groups calls attractive on cross-border operational groups and the promotion of collaboration and knowledge flows amongst operational groups. I hope this broad range of results has inspired you to do more with the EIP operational groups. In all this innovation work, the CAP networks in the member states will be a cornerstone, as illustrated in one of the sessions. They should be well connected to advisors and researchers and bring all EU practices-oriented material to their country. They will also continue to be the glue between the innovation actors and initiators of events to share knowledge or to brainstorm on new projects. As illustrated in one of your sessions, we expect that there will be more and more collaboration across member states, linking up actors and projects inside and outside the country. We strongly encourage these exchanges as they will bring together valuable information and will strengthen the AKIS. As an inspiration when preparing the national AKIS strategy, the list of potential AKIS interventions was just the top of the iceberg. From knowledge centers, farmers to farmers exchanges, and I think that's the point, and I knew it will come in my speech, farm to farmers, farmer to farmer exchanges, rewarding of researchers, the power of the operational groups, connecting with European thematic networks under Horizon Europe or active rural networks. I come to the end. I really and sincerely hope that you have all enjoyed the seminar, that you take away valuable learnings, which will help you to build up a strong and interconnected AKIS, and which will contribute to the definition of your country's priorities intervention. In particular, I would like to thank the Commissioner and the Polish ministers for their support and inspiring presentations. Great thanks evidently goes to you, the speakers, for having shared your valuable advice, practical experiences with us. And I would also like to thank our team, the team of DG Agriculture, for the preparation of the seminar. Most importantly, I would like to thank all of you for your active participation in this seminar and for your interest. Your input was really instrumental to the success of this event. Now you have an easy task ahead of you. Just build up AKIS to formulate AKIS national strategies and choose the best interventions having regard to the specific situation in your countries. A lot of work is still ahead of us, but it will certainly bear its fruit and yield in a more performant, modern and green CAP based on knowledge and innovation. I strongly believe this, and I think you have the future ahead of you. Many thanks and have a good weekend and enjoy life even in times of Corona. All the best. Bye.
Thank you so much, Director General Burtscher. That was an interesting and inspiring speech for us to close our seminar with. And I think we're absolutely right. We have such an inspirational opportunity ahead of us now to make AKIS into something that has a significant impact on agriculture and rural areas across the whole of the European Union. So thank you very much for your time. We've been very pleased to have you here with us.
Goodbye. Bye. Thank you.
Goodbye. So I know we're a little bit past 5 o'clock now, and I promise I'm only going to take 2 more minutes of your time. The first one is to say that if you wanted to provide a little bit more feedback from an evaluation perspective, then on the app you will find a little section where you can write anything that you want to let us know what you thought about the seminar. And we really, really, really do appreciate your feedback. So even if it's only a sort of a minute of your time and a couple of sentences, it means a lot to us because it means that we can improve what we're doing. And if you don't have the app, Sarah's very kindly just popped the link in the chat. So please do follow it through. It also falls upon me to do the thank yous, which is one of my favourite moments, even though it is towards the end. And I obviously want to thank all of our presenters who did an absolutely fantastic job with us over the last couple of days, sharing their experiences, being brave enough to share their challenges and helping us to start the conversations that I hope will continue. But I'd also like to thank the EIP-AGRI team, who hopefully all have their video on, although I'll try not to embarrass them too much. There's a lot of us. So we had support from facilitators for our breakout sessions from Sergio and Kiko and Andres and Bea and Wilhelmina, Agnes, Lisa, Alexandra, Katria and Kevin, Celine and Mark. So thank you to all of you. You were absolutely brilliant. We also had Kiko and Zeus with us as running the help desk for us. So if you had any issues, it was the two of them that sorted them out for you. And they've been 24/7 working with people. So thank you very much to Zeus and Kiko. I have to thank Eric and our interpreters that have been doing a great job on Kudo, even though we've not had the chance to see them. We usually have them as part of our group, but we haven't had that. So thank you to them as well. I also need to thank Sarah and Ina, who are the two people that have made everything work seamlessly. So in the same way that advisors are the glue for AKIS, I think Sarah and Ina have been the glue for the transitions and the technical side of all of our work over the last 2.5 days. So massive thanks for them for making all of that work for us. Also, thank you to Mark, particularly, who has been my kind of hosting buddy over the last 2.5 days and has made my life incredibly easy and has been brilliant at just picking out all of those comments and questions and making the most of all of the inputs from all of you as participants. So a massive thank you from me to Mark to helping me along through the journey over the last 2.5 days. Of course, we have to thank Pacom as our team leader, who guides us and directs us and provides support for us as we're developing all of these different events. So thank you very much for Pacom. I also have to particularly thank Sergio as well, because he's been our deputy team leader. So he has been there supporting us, helping us the whole way through. Inge also and the rest of the DG-AGRI team. I've noticed in the chat somebody has referred to Inge as the Queen of AKIS. So that will be her new title from now on. So thank you for Inge for all your inspiration and technical support and everything you've contributed the whole way through. It's been many, many hours. But our massive thanks as an entire team go towards Margarita, who was our team leader on this event. And it was a massive, massive challenge to deliver the first seminar of this size digitally. And I can't begin to tell you the amount of hours that she has put in, and she has delivered all those hours with a smile and supporting us all, and has just done an absolutely amazing job. So if you can find your applause button, or if you want to switch off your mute and give her a round of applause, then please do, because she has been an absolute star. Absolute star. Yeah,
thank you very much, Margarita.
She's going to hate me for this later, but she's been absolutely, absolutely brilliant.
Bravo.
So hopefully I have not missed anybody out. I don't know, Margarita, do you want to say something?
Yes, you missed someone very important, which is named Sarah Watson, which made this event so nice and playful and interesting. So a big thank you. You were a major person in our team. So
yes, so it's a pleasure. Stop, you're making me blush. And the last thing that we would like to do before we all say goodbye is get everybody to put their cameras on and remember to keep this family going, to keep this new AKIS community thriving from this point forward, and share your experiences and share your challenges and share your solutions. But for now, that's it from us. Thank you so much for your participation in this seminar, and thank you so much for managing it digitally rather than actually. And we would love a big wave from you all so we can add that to our portfolio of photos that we have from you all. Thank you so much. And don't leave straight away, because Ina has created a brilliant ending film for us all. So I hope to see you all soon. Take care and keep
What do you wanna do, Sarah? In a breakout or here?
Well, we can do it here now. Now we're on our own.
What did I do?
Did you?
Maybe you admitted them back.
Oh, funny answers to choose from.
So you can see it, right?
Yeah.
Hello, Sarah. And Margarita.
Good appetit.
I need to change my name.
Oh, what would you call yourself then?
Boss. For today at least.
Or Enola.
I would never be as presumptuous.
Just anyone who is a co-host, don't let anyone in yet.
For the questions and answers, questions in this case, taken orally, please ask people to say name and country.
I found my line.
You did! Wow, well done.
Well, there we go.
Sergio! Yay! Finally, after all these months, we
my God,
can
Sergio!
You! Yay! Welcome
That's
back,
so nice.
Sergio! I see that Celine is on board and also with the nice background slide. Hello, Celine.
Hello.
Hi. Okay. So let's hope that the system works well with the amount of people joining.
Don't worry. Yeah, don't worry if the system doesn't work. I mean, if it doesn't work, don't worry. Well, you cannot do anything. So
ask others to join again.
I have a question.
Hello, how are you?
I think I cannot mute anybody in the chat. And I should do it.
Well, we already lost somebody. Veronica left.
We left? Oh, we lost Veronica. No, she'll be back for sure. Oh, come on. What's happening? We didn't start and we're already losing participants.
And Evangelia as well.
Yeah.
3. So.
Okay. So, good luck, everybody.
Yeah, good luck.
You can leave them all in now, I think.
Good luck. Yeah.